They sent her like a joke, not quietly, not by accident, loud, cruel, deliberate, send Elena. The words hit the room like something light, something funny. And then laughter, sharp, sudden, everywhere. Clara bent over, holding her stomach. Sophie leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. Even the housekeeper looked down, hiding a smile she wasn't supposed to have. And Elena, she stood 5 steps away, still, invisible. Her fingers kept folding the same piece of laundry, over and over. Slow, careful, like if she had stopped, someone might finally notice her standing there. They didn't. No one ever did. "That's perfect," Victoria said, wiping a tear from the corner of her eye. "Let her go. Let him see exactly what we're dealing with." More laughter. Elena didn't move, didn't speak, didn't react. She just stood there in her flat shoes, her hair pulled back tight, her face bare. No makeup, no performance. Nothing that made people turn their heads. Nothing that made people stay. To them, she was simple, plain, forgettable. To them, she was her mother's daughter, and that was enough to lose. Her mother, the first wife, the quiet one, the one who disappeared from the world in a hospital bed years ago, while everyone else moved on like it never happened. Elena carried her face, her silence, her absence. And in this house, that meant something very clear. She did not belong. Clara straightened, still smiling. "He'll send her back in 10 minutes. Sophie nodded. "Less." Victoria's eyes shifted. Not kind, never kind, calculating. "Cold, yes," she said softly. "He will." A pause, a longer one this time. "And when he does, we'll give him someone worth choosing." The room went quiet, just for a second. Then the laughter came back again. Louder, sharper. Like Elena wasn't even standing there. Like she wasn't listening. Like she wasn't human. But she heard every word, every single one. And she folded the same piece of laundry again, and again, and again. No one ever noticed when Elena entered a room. Or when she left. She moved quietly. Soft steps, careful hands. Like someone who had learned slowly, painfully, that taking up space came with consequences. She was 26 years old. She had a university degree. She had skills, real ones, the kind that kept a house running without anyone thinking about it. She could cook a full meal without a recipe. She could stretch a budget until it barely broke. She could fix a leaking pipe, balance accounts, clean a space until it felt new again. None of it mattered. Because when people looked at her, they didn't see any of that. They saw a girl with no makeup, a girl with her hair tied back too tightly, a girl in flat shoes, a girl who didn't laugh loudly enough, didn't shine brightly enough, didn't exist loudly enough. She didn't have the kind of body that made men pause, didn't have the kind of smile that filled a room, didn't have the kind of presence that demanded attention. So she was ignored again and again and again. But the worst part wasn't what she lacked. It was what she carried. Her mother's face, the same eyes, the same quiet mouth, the same stillness that made people uncomfortable because it asked for nothing and revealed everything. Her mother had been the first wife, the forgotten one, the one who faded slowly in a hospital bed while her husband built a new life somewhere else. No noise, no fight, just gone. And Elena had watched it happen. Watched the way people spoke softer around her. Then less, then not at all. In this house, her existence came with a label. Not spoken, not written, but understood. Temporary. Unimportant. Replaceable. She stood in the kitchen now, hands resting on the counter, staring at nothing in particular. Voices echoed from the living room. Laughter again. Always laughter. Her name floating through it. Light. Disposable. A joke. She didn't flinch, didn't turn, didn't react because reacting required an audience. And Elena had learned a long time ago there wasn't one. The message did not arrive with a phone call. It did not come with a notification or a soft vibration in someone's pocket. It arrived at the front door. A man in a dark suit, polished shoes, straight posture. The kind of man who looked like he never waited for anything. He knocked once, clean, precise. Victoria opened the door herself. Because people like her always knew when something important was standing on the other side. The man handed her an envelope, thick paper, heavy, expensive. He said nothing, just nodded once and left. Victoria closed the door slowly. Her fingers ran across the edge of the envelope, like she could already feel the value inside it. She walked into the living room, sat down, opened it, and for a moment, nothing. Just silence. Then her eyes moved. Once, twice. Again, she read it again, carefully this time. Every word, every line. Her lips parted slightly. Not smiling, not yet. Calculating. The name sat at the top of the page. Adrian Cole. Everyone in the city knew that name, not because he was loud, but because he didn't need to be. 16 years ago, he started with almost nothing. One room, one laptop, one plan no one believed in. Now his company stood in 14 countries. His name filled business magazines. His face appeared in quiet, serious headlines. Not gossip, not noise. Power, real power. His estate sat at the edge of the city like it didn't belong to the same world. Tall gates, endless gardens, silence that money had built and protected. He was 43 years old, widowed. His wife gone to cancer 2 years ago. Fast, unfair, final. He had a daughter, Lily, 18. And people whispered that she had not smiled, not really smiled, since the day her mother stopped breathing. Victoria's fingers tightened around the paper. She read the last part again. He was not looking for love, not romance, not performance. He wanted something else, something quieter, a companion, someone stable, someone honest, someone who could live inside a house filled with silence and not be swallowed by it. Victoria leaned back slowly. The smallest smile touched her lips. Not warm, never warm, strategic, because this was not a letter. This was an opportunity. The planning started before the paper even settled on the table. Victoria didn't wait. She called him in immediately. Clara, Sophie, living room, now. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. The girls came. Clara first, perfect hair, perfect posture, phone still in her hand, camera ready, even when nothing was happening. Sophie behind her, louder, faster, energy spilling out of her like she didn't know how to hold it in. "What is it?" Clara asked, already curious. Victoria didn't answer. She handed them the letter and watched. Clara's eyes widened first, then narrowed, calculating. Sophie read faster, her eyebrows lifting higher with every line. "Wait," Sophie said, looking up. "This is real?" Victoria smiled slightly. "Very." Clara leaned back slowly. "Adrian Cole." She said the name like it tasted expensive. Sophie tilted her head. "Is he handsome?" Victoria didn't even look at her. "He is worth $300 million, she said flatly. That is the only thing that matters about his face. Silence, just for a second, then movement. Fast. "Sharp, what do I wear?" Clara asked. "What does he like?" Sophie added. "How soon is the meeting? What's the plan?" Victoria watched them spin. Then she raised her hand. Everything stopped. "We don't rush this," she said calmly. "We control it." Clara nodded immediately. Sophie crossed her arms, trying to look serious. Victoria stood, walked slowly across the room. "This is not a meeting," she continued. "This is a performance." A pause. "We decide who goes." Clara straightened. "Me," Sophie scoffed. "You? Please, I'm the oldest. I'm the most interesting." Voices rose. Tension built. Victoria didn't interrupt. She let it grow. Let it stretch. Let it almost break, until Sophie laughed. Suddenly, carelessly. "What about Elena?" The room froze, just for a breath. Sophie grinned, leaning back. "Why don't we send her? Let her finally be useful." Clara blinked, then laughed. "Oh my God, yes." Sophie kept going, enjoying it now. She'll walk in there, he'll take one look at her, and that's it. Rejected. Finished. Victoria didn't laugh, not immediately. She watched the idea, turned it over, slowly, carefully, and then her eyes shifted. Something colder, something sharper. "Actually," she said. The room went quiet. "I think that's a very good idea. Come here." Victoria didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Elena heard it anyway. She always did. She set the laundry down. Smooth, careful, like it mattered. Then she walked forward, step by step, into the center of the room where she was never meant to stand. 3 pairs of eyes on her now. Not kind, never kind, evaluating. Clara leaned back on the couch, arms crossed, a small smile pulling at the corner of her lips. Sophie looked away for a second, just a second, then back again. Victoria stood still, watching, measuring. "You're going to meet Adrian Cole," she said. No build-up, no softness, just the words. Elena didn't react, didn't blink, didn't ask why. She just stood there, quiet, still. Victoria stepped closer. You will go this Saturday, she continued. You will represent this family. A pause. Then softer, sharper, and you will fail. The word hung in the air, heavy, certain. Clara smiled wider. Sophie shifted her weight. Elena said nothing. Don't speak, Victoria added quickly, even though Elena hadn't. Just listen. She circled her slowly, like inspecting something. You will sit there, Victoria said, and you will let him see exactly what you are. Another pause, and then he will send you home. Silence. Tight. Controlled. And when he does, Victoria went on, you will tell him about Clara. Clara's eyes flicked up, interested now, alert. You will say she is available, Victoria said. You will make him curious. Elena's hand stayed at her sides, still, calm, too calm. Victoria stopped in front of her, looked directly into her face. You are the bait, Elena. The words landed, flat, final. Do you understand? A long moment. Elena looked at her, then at Clara, then at Sophie, then back at Victoria. Her voice came out soft, even. Yes, Mom. Clara let out a quiet laugh. Sophie didn't. Victoria smiled, not warm, never warm, satisfied. Good, she said. Then don't ruin this. Elena nodded once, small, controlled, and just like that, it was decided. Her role, her place, her purpose. A joke, sent to fail. The room was too quiet, not peaceful. Empty. Elena sat on the edge of her bed, hands resting on her knees, staring at the wall like it might say something back if she waited long enough. It didn't. Nothing ever did. The house was still awake somewhere beyond her door. Laughter, footsteps, voices rising and falling like she wasn't part of the same world. She didn't move. Didn't lie down. Didn't cry. She had stopped crying in this house a long time ago. Tears needed witnesses. And no one here watched. Her eyes shifted, slow, to the small table beside her bed. Her phone, she picked it up, unlocked it. One photo, just one. Her mother, caught mid-laugh. Head tilted slightly back, eyes bright, mouth open in a moment that wasn't meant to be frozen but somehow was. Alive, so alive it almost hurt to look at. Elena stared at it, longer than she meant to. Her fingers tightened around the edges of the phone. She waited, Elena whispered. Her voice barely filled the room. She kept waiting, for love, for recognition, for someone to choose her. She waited until the end, and the waiting took everything. Elena closed her eyes. Just for a second, then opened them again, slow, careful, like something inside her had shifted just enough to be noticed. I won't, she said, soft but steady, not loud, not dramatic, but real. She set the phone face down. The image disappeared, but it didn't leave, not really. It stayed, in her chest, in her bones, in the quiet space where decisions are made without witnesses. She looked around the room, small, plain, temporary. Just like them, just like the life she had been given. They sent me as a joke, she said quietly. The words felt strange in her mouth. Foreign, like they belonged to someone else. She shook her head once. No, not this time. She stood up, slow, deliberate, walked to the mirror, stopped, looked at herself, really looked. No makeup, hair tied back, simple, unremarkable, but there, still there. I'll go, she said, a pause. Then as me, not bait, not a joke, not something to be rejected. Just her, whatever that meant, whatever was left. She took a breath, deep, unsteady, but enough. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel invisible. Not completely, not anymore. Saturday arrived quietly, too quietly. The kind of morning that looked ordinary on the outside, while something underneath shifted everything. Elena stood by the door in a simple blue dress. No designer label, no dramatic cut, just clean, pressed, still, like her. Victoria looked at her once, opened her mouth, then stopped. Something in Elena's face made her stop. I'm ready, Elena said. 2 words, calm, steady. Victoria said nothing. The car was already waiting, black, polished, silent. Elena stepped inside, the door closed, and just like that, she was gone. The city passed outside the window. Buildings, people, noise. Life moving the way it always moved, unaffected, unaware. Elena watched it all without really seeing it. Her hands rested in her lap, still, her breath slow. In, out, in, out. The car turned. The streets grew wider, quieter, cleaner, until finally it stopped. The gate stood in front of her, tall, black, unmoving, like it had been there forever, like it would stay there forever. Elena stepped out, The air felt different here, quieter, heavier. She looked up, just for a second, then the gate opened, slow, silent. And something about that sound, or the lack of it, made her chest tighten. She stepped forward, crossed the line, and in that moment, everything changed. She just didn't know it yet. At the far end of the stone path, someone was watching, Adrian. He wasn't supposed to be there. Everything had been arranged already. Staff, process, distance. That was how it always worked. But this morning, he couldn't sit still. He had left his study without thinking, walked through the garden without a reason, and now he stood there, hands in his pockets, still, waiting. The gate opened. He saw her step through, and something inside him paused, because she wasn't what he expected. No performance, no smile designed to impress, no careful movements to be seen. She just stood there, looking at the garden like she had never seen something that beautiful before. For 4 seconds, she didn't know he was there. And in those 4 seconds, he saw it. Longing, real, unprotected, the kind that hurts to look at. Then she turned, saw him, and just like that, it was gone, replaced by something controlled, something quiet, something he knew too well. He started walking toward her, no staff, no distance, just him and her, meeting in the middle. You must be Elena. His voice was calm, not cold, not warm, just real. Elena nodded. Yes. Nothing extra. No title. No performance. Just one word. He stepped closer. Close enough now that the space between them felt deliberate. He held out his hand. She took it, firm, brief, equal. And for a moment, something shifted. Small, quiet. But there, I'm Adrian, he said. Not Mr. Cole. Not the name in magazines. Just Adrian. Like the garden behind him mattered more than everything else. Elena let go of his hand. Looked at him, really looked. He wasn't what she expected. No arrogance. No sharp edge meant to make her feel smaller. Just a man, tired in a way that didn't show loudly, carrying something he didn't talk about. She recognized that immediately. Would you like to walk? He asked. Or we can go inside. Elena glanced at the garden, the roses, the space, the light, then back at him. Walk, she said. He nodded, and they moved side by side. No rush, no script. For a while, nothing. Just footsteps against stone, silence. Most people would feel it, rush to speak, cover the quiet. But neither of them did, because silence, to both of them, wasn't empty. It was familiar, relief. Adrian spoke first. How honest are you willing to be? The question landed softly, but it stayed. Elena turned slightly. About what? About why you're here, he said. About what your family wants. About whether this was ever your idea. They stopped. The air shifted. He looked at her now, direct, not accusing, just tired of being lied to. I've had enough of everything else, he added quietly. Elena held his gaze, a long moment. Then she took a breath, slow, steady. You want honest, she said. He didn't answer, he didn't need to. She nodded once. My family sent me as a joke. The words fell between them. Heavy, unprotected. They don't think I have value, she continued. They expected you to reject me. Her jaw tightened, but her voice stayed even. They wanted me to fail, so they could offer you someone better. Silence, no reaction, no interruption. She looked away briefly, at the roses, at anything that wasn't him. That's the truth, she said. And then she waited. For the end, for the dismissal, for the polite rejection she had already been promised. But Adrian didn't move, didn't call anyone. He just stood there, looking at her, like something inside him had just cracked. He didn't end the meeting. He didn't call anyone. He didn't look at her with pity. Instead, he turned, walked to the stone bench, sat down, slow, deliberate, like something inside him needed a moment to catch up. Elena stayed where she was, still, waiting. Adrian leaned forward, hands clasped loosely between his knees. He stared at the ground for a second, then looked up. I'm not looking for love, he said. No apology. No hesitation. My daughter lost her mother 2 years ago, he continued, and she's been disappearing ever since. His voice stayed steady, too steady, like it had been practiced. I need someone stable, he said, someone honest, someone who can exist in that house without turning it into a performance. He met her eyes. You're the first person who walked through that gate and told me the truth without being asked twice. Silence, different now, not heavy. Not sharp, Something else. Elena stepped closer, sat on the other end of the bench, not too close, not too far, 2 feet of stone between them. I'm not easy, she said after a moment. Her hands rested in her lap. Calm. I notice things people don't want noticed, she continued. I say things at the wrong time. A small pause. My family finds that exhausting. Adrian let out a quiet breath. Your family sounds like they find the truth exhausting, he said. She looked at him. He looked back. And for a second, neither of them looked away. Something fragile moved in the space between them. Unspoken, unclaimed, but real. Adrian stood. Come inside, he said. Not a command. An invitation. She followed him through wide glass doors into a house that looked perfect, too perfect, clean, still, empty in a way that had nothing to do with space. He walked her through it, not showing off, not explaining the price of things, just moving. He stopped in the kitchen, large, bright, unused. I haven't eaten a real breakfast in months, he said casually. Elena looked around, opened a cabinet, then another, found eggs, herbs, a pan. Give me 20 minutes, she said. He blinked. You don't have to. I know, she replied, already moving. Do you want eggs or not? A pause. Then I want eggs, she cooked. No performance, no rush. Just quiet, steady movement. He sat at the counter, watched her, not because he had to, but because he couldn't stop. She placed the plate in front of him. He stared at it for a second, then ate, slow at first, then faster, like something inside him remembered how. When he finished, he set the fork down, looked at her. That, he said quietly, is the best thing I've eaten in 2 years. Elena said nothing, but something inside her shifted, just a little. The sound came from upstairs, a door opening. Soft, but enough. Both of them turned, Elena first, Adrian second. At the top of the staircase, a girl stood there still, watching, Lily, 18 years old, her father's eyes, her mother's mouth, and a face that looked like it had forgotten how to feel anything fully. She didn't move, didn't smile, didn't hide, just looked at him, then at her. Something flickered across her expression, fast, guarded, gone. I didn't know someone was here, Lily said, flat, no warmth, no curiosity, just a statement. Adrian stepped forward slightly. I should have told you, he said. His voice changed when he spoke to her, softer, careful. This is Elena. Lily's eyes shifted, now fully on her, measuring, not welcoming, not rejecting, just assessing. Elena met her gaze, didn't smile too quickly, didn't step forward, didn't try to fix anything. She had seen this before, in mirrors, in silence, in herself. A girl who had learned to build walls quietly, brick by brick, without anyone noticing. Hi, Lily, Elena said, 2 words, simple, even, no pressure. Lily blinked, once, like she hadn't expected anything at all. Hi, she replied, automatic, barely there, but it came, and that mattered, more than it looked. A pause, then Lily turned, walked back into her room, closed the door, soft, but final. Adrian exhaled slowly, like he had been holding something in his chest for a long time. She hasn't said hi to anyone new, he said quietly. A beat, not in over a year. Elena didn't answer. She just looked at the closed door, really looked, like she could see through it, like she understood exactly what lived on the other side, because she did. Silence again, but not the same silence as before. This one had movement, a beginning, small, fragile, easy to miss. Adrian leaned against the wall slightly, still watching the door, still thinking. Elena turned back toward the kitchen, picked up the plate, moved naturally, like she belonged in the space. Not trying to prove it, just existing. And somewhere behind that closed door, Lily stood still, hand resting on the wood, listening to footsteps, to quiet voices, to something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not hope, not yet, but something close enough to make her stay and listen just a little longer. She came back, not once, not by accident, again and again. The second time, no one announced her, no staff at the door, no formal greeting. Just the gate opening, and Elena stepping through like she already knew the way. Adrian was there again, not planned, not arranged, just waiting. You came, he said. I said I would, she replied. Simple, like it didn't need to be more. Inside, the house felt the same. Perfect, silent, carefully untouched. But Elena moved through it differently now. Not as a guest, not as someone being evaluated. Just moving. She noticed things, small things. The way a file sat slightly out of place on his desk, the way the kitchen schedule repeated the same meals, the way the second coffee mug stayed clean, unused, frozen in time. She didn't announce it, didn't point it out. She just fixed things, quietly, naturally. She reorganized the files, left a note, simple handwriting, clear, no explanation longer than needed. Adrian found it later, read it once, then again, and something about it stayed with him, not the change. The intention, the care. He didn't say anything, but he remembered. That evening, Lily came downstairs. Not quickly, not confidently, but she came, wearing the same gray sweatshirt, hair tied loosely. Eyes still guarded, but present. That alone was different. Elena sat at the table with a book, not looking at her, not calling attention, just there. Lily stood in the doorway, watching, waiting. Elena didn't move, didn't speak, didn't make it a moment. And slowly, Lily walked in, sat down, opened her laptop. The silence between them stretched, but it didn't break, because it didn't need to. Minutes passed, maybe more. Neither of them said anything, but something changed. Subtle, quiet, real. The next morning, Lily came downstairs again, but this time she wasn't wearing gray. Color, soft, barely noticeable. But there, Adrian saw it from across the room, paused, didn't say a word, because some changes you don't interrupt, you don't name, you just witness. And Elena? She kept doing what she always did, not performing, not asking, just showing up again and again and again, until the house started to breathe. The sound was wrong, not loud, not sharp, something worse, a broken sound, like someone trying not to make noise and failing. Adrian heard it first. His chair scraped back hard against the floor. Elena, but she was already moving. They reached the door at the same time. Lily's room, closed. The sound came again, low, shaking. Adrian pushed the door open, and everything inside him dropped. Lily was on the floor, back against the bed, knees pulled in, hands pressed over her ears, her whole body shaking like something inside her was tearing apart. Lily, he dropped to his knees. Lily, look at me. I'm here. I'm right here. But she didn't hear him, didn't see him. Her eyes were somewhere else, far away, gone. Elena stood in the doorway. For a second, just one. Then she moved, not fast, not loud, just certain. She crossed the room, sat down, right beside Lily, close enough that their arms touched. She didn't speak, didn't pull her hands away, didn't force eye contact. She just sat there, still, present. Adrian looked at her, confused, helpless, waiting. Elena closed her eyes for a moment. Then she started humming. Soft, barely there, not a song, just sound. Slow, gentle, like something that didn't ask for anything in return. The kind of sound that says, I'm here, I'm not leaving. Time passed, no one counted it. Lily's breathing shifted, just a little. Then again, slower, her hands loosened, not fully, but enough. Elena didn't stop, didn't change, just stayed, right there. Then Lily's head moved, slow, uncertain, and without looking, she leaned, sideways, into Elena, rested her head against her shoulder. Adrian froze, his hand went to his mouth. He didn't speak, couldn't. Elena's hand lifted, carefully, gently, rested on Lily's hair. No pressure, just contact. And they stayed like that, on the floor, 3 people, in one room, while the world outside kept moving. And inside, something broken finally began to hold together again. He was still standing in the hallway when she stepped out, back against the wall, arms loose at his sides. Like he had forgotten how to move, his face unrecognizable. Not the man from boardrooms, not the man from headlines, just a father, broken open. Elena closed the door softly behind her, careful not to wake Lily, careful not to break whatever had just been put back together. She turned, saw him, and for a second, neither of them spoke. There are moments that don't belong to words. This was one of them. She walked toward him, slow, no hesitation, no plan, just instinct. She stopped in front of him, close enough to see the way his jaw tightened, the way his eyes looked raw, and then she stepped forward, wrapped her arms around him, simple, human, real. He froze, just for a breath. Then he broke, not loudly, not dramatically, quiet, the way deep things break. His arms came up, held her tight, too tight. Like if he let go, everything would fall apart again. She didn't speak, didn't try to fix it, Didn't tell him it was okay because it wasn't. Not yet. So she just stayed, held him, let him breathe, let him fall, let him not be alone. Minutes passed, or maybe longer. Time didn't matter. Only this, only here, only now. Eventually, he pulled back. Just enough. Looked at her. Really looked. Elena, he said, her name, but the way he said it different, like it meant something, like it always had. He swallowed. Tried again. I don't have the right words, he admitted. A small pause. For tonight. For all of this. Elena shook her head softly. You don't need them. Another silence. Then he said it. Slow. Careful. I need you to know something. She waited. His voice dropped. Lower. Steady. You are not invisible. The words hit her harder than anything else that night. Harder than the silence. Harder than the crying. Harder than the truth. You were never invisible, he continued. Not to me. Her breath caught. Just for a second. I see you, he said, simple. Certain. Real. And something inside her that had been quiet for years finally answered. The house felt smaller than she remembered. Too tight, too familiar. Elena stepped inside. The door closed behind her with a soft click, and immediately she felt it. The shift, the air waiting. Victoria stood in the center of the living room, arms crossed. Still, Clara sat on the couch, her phone in her hand, screen dark now, but not forgotten. Sophie leaned against the wall. Quiet, why, for once, they were all looking at her. Really looking. Not past her, not through her, at her. Something had changed. Victoria spoke first. Sits down, not loud, controlled. That was worse. Elena didn't hesitate. She walked forward. Sat, back straight, hands in her lap. Calm. Tell me, Victoria said, her voice low, sharp. What exactly has been happening in that house? Elena met her gaze. I've been visiting. Clara laughed. Short, sharp, ugly. Visiting? She repeated. 6 times in 4 weeks? Staying until midnight? That's not visiting. Elena didn't look at her. Yes, she said. It is something else. Silence. Heavy. Electric. Victoria stepped closer. Slow. Measured. I sent you there with a purpose, she said. A simple one. A pause. You were supposed to fail. Elena nodded once. I know. And instead, Victoria continued, quieter now, you decided to take something that was never yours. He is not a thing, Elena said. Clara's jaw tightened. You know what she means. Clara snapped. That life, that opportunity, that belongs to this family. Elena turned, looked directly at her. No, she said calmly, it belongs to you. The words landed clean, precise. Clara said nothing. Victoria's face hardened. You are not prepared for that world, she said. You are plain. You are quiet. You have nothing. Elena held her gaze. He disagrees. Silence. Real silence this time. Not laughter. Not mockery. Just stillness. What has this family done for me? Elena asked. The question cut through the room. Simple. Honest. Unavoidable. Victoria opened her mouth, stopped, because there was no answer. Sophie looked down. Her voice came out softer than anyone expected. Let her go. Everyone turned. Sophie swallowed. I started this, she said. I said it as a joke, a breath. I never thought about her. She looked at Elena. I'm sorry, 2 words, unpolished, real. Elena didn't smile, didn't forgive, not yet, but she nodded once. I know. Victoria said nothing, but something in her eyes shifted. For the first time, it wasn't control, it was fear. He said it like it had been waiting, like it had been there from the beginning. I love you, Elena. No performance, no hesitation, just truth. It filled the room, heavy, real, unavoidable. Elena didn't move, didn't speak. Her chest rose, fell, slow. Like she needed a second to remember how breathing worked. Because this was the thing she had never been given. Not once, not ever, to be chosen. Not by accident, not by convenience, but by someone who saw everything and stayed. I didn't expect you, Adrian continued quietly. I wasn't looking for this. He stepped closer, 1 step, then another. But you walked through that gate and told me the truth. A pause. And I haven't been the same since. Elena's eyes filled, not falling, not yet, just there, holding, fighting. I was afraid, she said softly, her voice steady, but thin. I knew if I came back, something would start. She looked at him, really looked. And I didn't know if I could survive losing it. Silence. He understood. He didn't interrupt. I've seen what loss does, she whispered. I've lived in it. A breath. But I'm more afraid of walking away from something real. Her voice didn't break. It held. I love you too. The words landed between them, soft, certain, complete. And something inside both of them finally let go. He crossed the space, closed the distance. His hands came up to her face, careful, like she was something fragile, like she was something rare. He rested his forehead against hers, breathings, same air, same moment. And then he kissed her, slow, gentle, real, not a promise, not a performance, a beginning. The house changed. Not all at once, but enough. The silence softened. The rooms felt warmer. Lily laughed more, not small laughs anymore. Real ones, full, alive. 4 months later, they stood in the garden. Simple, quiet, no crowd, no spectacle, just them. Elena walked toward him in a plain dress, no design, no statement, just her, exactly her. Lily stood beside her, close, steady. Family. He took Elena's hand. Hi, he said softly. She smiled. Hi, and this time the world didn't pass her by. It stayed, right there, with her, because she was no longer invisible. She never had been.